Greetings all, Shane Bruce, Resto My Daisy. And today we're going to do a short video that focuses primarily on old air tubes. By old air tubes, I mean air tubes for daisies like the number 111 Model 40, the Model 102, 103, the trombone pump, the Model 25. Guns that typically were built prior to the 1940s, late 1940s. The current air tube, for those of you who only have newer guns to play with, looks a lot like this. And it has a pin, a synthetic compression cup, and a small washer, and a felt wiper that is supposed to collect and distribute oil on the inside of the compression chamber during the firing stroke. To take one of these apart, you just slip the pin out, bang, it comes out, and you'll notice that this pin has flat sides on it. That is unique to the new air tubes. New air tubes require these flattened pins to function. You cannot use the older round pins that were common in the earlier air tubes on the new air tubes. Place it down here and we'll compare that in a little bit. The air tube itself has a foam wiper. Once again, this is to smear oil up and down the compression chamber while the gun's in operation to ensure smooth operation. The new air tube also has a metal washer on the back. The metal washer is not a load supporting washer. It's there, just provides some additional stability. And of course, the cup itself slides easily in and out of the air tube. You can pull them out just like that. And you'll see that on the modern air tube, there's an oval hole, whereas in the really old air tubes, there is not. There is a round hole. So there's a comparison. The older air tube uses a round pin. The new air tube uses a pin with a flat. They are not interchangeable. The round pins will not work in the new air pins. The new air pins will work in the round ones, but they will not be firm. They can fall out. All right, so we're done with new air tubes. Let's take a look at old air tubes. And the main reason we're doing a video today is to show you how to get, if you've got an old air tube like this that has leather seals, and you want to replace those worn out leather seals with new leather seals, that's a doable thing. But you have to know how to extract it. So let's go to one that we've already taken apart so that we can see the bits and pieces that are involved. This is what the air tube looks like without a leather seal. You'll notice that there's a steel cap that's pressed in place on the top of a base, a solid steel base, and the air tube is attached to the cap. The base also has a washer, and the washer is what actually is pressed against by the mainspring in the older construction styles, and holds the leather washer or the leather compression seal in place. Now, this air tube, even though it doesn't look like it that much, you can kind of sort of see it there, is tapered. Now, what does that mean? That means that it's smaller at one end than the other. So here on the base of the air tube, when we check that, we see we get a reading of 0.346. If we go up to the top of the air tube and get rid of some metal debris, if we go up to the top of the air tube, we notice that our reading now is 375. 375 versus 346. Hence, the air tube is tapered. And that's why it allows the washer to slip up, but only to a certain point. And that certain point corresponds pretty closely with the thickness of the original leather washer that went in there. Now, these normally mic at about 0.80 when they come out of a gun. The new Model 25 synthetic compression cup mics at 0.82. So you can use the Model 25 in the older guns. That's good news for those of us that do mods. You can also get new leather washers. They're not commonly available, but there's several guys on eBay that do sell them. Now, the question that prompted this whole video was, how do I get this thing apart? Well, until you take one apart, it is a bit of a mystery, because there's nothing really intuitive about how it was actually built to start with. So, in order to get that, we can see here that the metal cap is actually pressed in place around the lip of the tapered tube, and the air tube itself is mounted in that cap. So that's how that works. But now for the $64,000 question, how do I get my air tube out if I want to replace my seals? Well, I find the easiest way to do this is to take a deep well socket. 15 millimeter works pretty well. There's a, an inch equivalent to that, but I don't know off the top of my head what that is. take your air tube that you want to replace, stick it in the deep well socket, make sure the air tube extends out the end, then find yourself a block of wood with a hole. That's curiously available, isn't it? Anyway, set that up, get it as firm as you can, on as stable a surface as you can find, and then working around all the obstructions, make sure she's centered there. It should fit flush. It does. Now what we're going to do is going to take a hammer and we're just going to give this thing a rap. And if it don't go the first time, we're going to give it another rap, because eventually it will drive through. Ah, look at that. 3 is the charm. So now we have a dismounted leather seal. We can peel the washer off of that. Take a look at that. That doesn't look leathery at all, does it? It looks plasticky. But when you look on the side, oh, that's leather. And now we've got a disassembled air tube. So if you go to the trouble to make one of these and you want to get it rehabbed and refurbed and put the leather back in it, you take your new compression leather seal, slip it in place. Then you take your washer, slip it in place. And at that point in time, you really don't need to do anything else. You don't need to tap this firm or tap it flush, because when you go to assemble this back on your plunger assembly, the mainspring will push directly against the washer. It does not work on the pin like it does in the current iteration. The mainspring faces on the washer, and that gives you more than